Hey YouTube, Buckluck here, and in this video I want to talk about some of the things that I have found in this patch now that we've gotten a chance to play it for a little bit and try things out, and essentially just share my thoughts. First off, let's start with the Druid. As most of you who've been around my channel for a while know, I used to main Druid for a couple years. I dusted off the Druid. I actually swapped from Druid to Engineer back when Scrappers got quickness, because I really like the idea of being able to be a support that provided quickness, but not play a Firebrand, because they made me feel dirty. So I got back on my Druid to try out the new patch. So a couple of things that I noticed right away. First off, let's talk about Water Spirit. So Water Spirit, now when you summon it, it pulses regen every 3 seconds. Now, it used to be, it did a pulse of regen when you used the activated skill. Now it just does the healing burst when you activate it. The regen is just every 3 seconds it pulses. Now, before, the Water Spirit in no way, shape, or form could heal itself. Now, as you can see, it is giving itself regen. Now, the regen caps out at 5 targets, so if you're in a group situation, it will prioritize players, it'll hit 5 players, and that regen will not hit itself unless there's less than 5 players in range. So in that situation, if people are actually stacked properly, it doesn't help keep itself alive. But it's interesting, because if there's a moment where someone runs out of range to do a mechanic and then comes back, it'll be topping itself off during that. That is something it didn't have before. Second thing that we've learned is the pulses that happen every 3 seconds actually don't come from the spirit. I'm gonna run way over here, and I'm now next to this random player. They're getting regen, and look at the spirit over there. It's not. It comes from you. You're pulsing. Now, right now, despite the fact that there's that big white circle which shows the range of the spirit, it is coming from the player, the Druid, not from the spirit. Now, I don't know if that's a bug or intended. I would lean toward bug, since it still shows the radius here. However, I really like it, because in fractals and stuff like that, as long as you're stacked with your group, when you're running around, yesterday I did the Jade Junkyard strike mission. Every time that Anka would teleport to another area and you would run between her teleport points, you know, the spirits would be left behind. And even as long as I, you know, just hit the button every time it cools down, I'm still emitting alacrity. I am still pulsing the boons, stuff like that. It was actually really nice. I hope that stays. I don't know if it will, but I hope that stays, because that made it much easier to deal with. As long as it was alive somewhere, you were pulsing the boons. Now, if you get too far away from a spirit, they despawn. That's always been a thing. But yeah, that's the first and second thing. Water Spirit can heal itself. Second thing is the boons pulse from you, even though it didn't say that anywhere. Next up, the new Sun Spirit. Sun Spirit used to give everyone burn on hit with like a 10-second cooldown, I believe. Now it pulses Vigor, something that Druids didn't really have a way to give groups before. And if you have max boon duration, right this second, my gear is set to Harrier, which is 100% bonus boon duration, so the numbers are doubled. It's 3 seconds of Vigor, 3-second pulse. So Perma Vigor. Permanent Vigor, 100% boon duration plus Sun Spirit is permanent Vigor for your party. And some classes will really, really like that. And then, you know, when you activate it, it does a little bit of burning and blind, whatever. So that's basically new. Stone Spirit. Used to give protection, but it was a few seconds with a 10-second cooldown, and then you activate it for a little bit more. Now, with max boon duration, 3 seconds protection with a 3-second interval, it's permanent protection. This Stone Spirit with 100% bonus boon duration is permanent protection, and Sun is permanent Vigor. Those are two things that Druid could not, or Ranger could not do either at all or well before, and now they can. So those are really cool. Now, for those that didn't really look too deeply into it, the way the Druid alacrity works is if you have this straight line here, you get 4 seconds of alacrity, or 8 with max boon duration, and whenever you use an activated skill from a spirit. So you hit the spirit button a second time, it teleports to your location, does something, and that's 8 seconds of alacrity. All the healing spirit plus the utility spirits all have 20-second cooldowns. So, you know, 8 seconds for each one if you've got max boon duration. 3 times 8 is 24. That means if you're running at least 3 spirits, so that's the healing spirit plus 2 utilities, or 3 utilities That's 24 seconds of alacrity every 20 seconds, assuming your whole group's in range, and that is max alacrity. And you don't have to use the elite spirit for that. You can save the, you could just not use the heal spirit if you wish to, or you could save the heal spirit for when you needed to do a mass res, something that's far more important. Sometimes you wouldn't drop that down until you really needed it because it's a 2-minute cooldown if it gets mussed up. For example, on the Kanang Overlook, when you zipline up to the boss, that when you ride that zipline, despawns all spirits. When he kicks you down to the lower level to fight the adds, it does not despawn them, but when you zipline back up, it does. So I found that it was really cumbersome. It wasn't that bad to lose these, because 20 seconds, but losing this when the 2-minute cooldown was really rough. However, yeah, 3 spirits is permanent alacrity with some boon duration. Storm Spirit now gives Fury. Now, if you are using Warhorn 5, and you're making use of Quick Draw with Warhorn 5, you already had Permanent Fury. However, this makes it really lazy. I don't imagine there's many situations where you would use this. Frost Spirit. Now, used to be all Druids took Grace the Land, which gave 2 might every time you healed someone. So like this skill does 5 pulses of healing around you. It used to give 10 might, 2 times 5. Now, Grace the Land is 1 stack of might per heal, so it's half that. However, they then added Pulsing Might to Frost Spirit. Now with max boon duration, it's 27 seconds of might every 3 seconds. Now this thing, if you leave it out, you'll end up with 9 stacks. 9 stacks, assuming your group's in range the whole time before it starts falling off. On top of that, you also can do 6 stacks of might with Call of the Wild, or between 6 and 12 if you do perfect quick draws with Warhorn 5. But you're still just short of 25 stacks of might. So that means without Grace of the Land, Frost Spirit plus Warhorn 5 played badly would be about 15 stacks of might permanent uptime on your group. Frost Spirit plus Warhorn 5 played perfectly with Quick Draw, about 20 most of the time, and then sometimes dropping to 15. That's, again, without Grace of the Land. So if you've got anyone else in your group supplying might, for example, the new Engineer Rifle, Blunderbuss, the 2 button, pulses out 5 stacks of might. There you go. If you got a DPS Engineer in your group, plus a healed Druid, they don't have to take Grace the Land. They could take Lingering Light, which is amazing because it makes the Astral Power system less crap. Astral Power is one of the worst resource systems in the game, in my opinion, because we're talking about a class that used to have to ask other people to GG. Imagine a doctor asking other people, hey, I need to punch you before I can help this patient. That's the Druid Astral Power system. It's rough, but this makes it to where the bar regenerates over time. Now, how fast does it regenerate? Now, I'm gonna mount just to kill all the spirits, and I am going to drain the whole bar here, which hitting buttons actually doesn't help because it just drains over 10 seconds. So we're just gonna fast forward ahead. Okay, so 10 seconds in astral form is what it takes to completely drain the bar. Doesn't matter what's happening during those 10 seconds, you're hitting buttons, whatever. And the passive regen from Lingering Light, that means, just waiting, basically. You're not doing damage and you're not healing. The passive regen, it takes about 60 seconds to fill the bar. It's just over 60 seconds. Now, keep in mind, if you're in combat, and you're doing any damage, that gives you Astral Power, or doing any healing, it gives you Astral Power, plus the passive, it heals even faster. It feels very nice. It feels very nice. Just as long as you confirm, hey, is anyone else providing some might? Great. I'm gonna take, maybe Sunfrost, Stone, and then Lingering Light. It feels good. You can go into Celestial Avatar like every 10 seconds, or less so if you have Alacrity, which you will because you're providing it now, and you can do your thing. Let's quickly talk about Water Spirit versus Healing Spring. Now, Water Spirit basically gives permanent regen to your party. Healing Spring does the same. Water Spirit, when you activate it a second time, does a pulse heal was about 2k to people around you every 20 seconds. Healing Spring does not. Now, both of them can trigger Cultivated Synergy, which is an explosion heal around you when you do your healing skill. It's that big burst of water you just saw. However, Healing Spring has a 4-second longer cooldown with the trait for it, which is Trapper's Expertise. So that means every 24 seconds you could do this heal with Spring. Every 20 seconds you could do this heal with Water Spirit. So Water Spirit gets a little more usage out of this trait. So that means in terms of raw healing, Water Spirit does a tiny bit more. Now, when I say tiny, I mean 2k per 20. That's 100 a second. So it's minor, but it is there. Trade-off, Water Spirit doesn't cure conditions at all. Healing Spring, assuming your whole party is standing in it, cures up to 12 conditions per player, 5 players. That's up to 60 conditions on them. It is insane. I've done like Slothosaur fights where I was just hitting Healing Spring on cooldown, and at the end of the fight it said I cured like 300 conditions. It is easy mode condition cleansing. So TLDR, if you're trying to choose which heal skill you're going to use, if there's any conditions in the fight, take Healing Spring. It'll make your life easier. If there's not, you can take Water Spirit if you want to. End goal, you want 3 spirits if you're doing Alacrity. So that's Water Spirit plus 2 utilities or 3 utilities. Now, if you take Water Spirit plus 2 utilities, my favorite third one is usually Search and Rescue, but anyway, that's that. So I think that's most of the stuff I had to say about Druid. I almost forgot, and I'm coming back to it really quick. The new version of Spotter, if you choose to use it, which if you are a support Druid and you are taking Skirmishing, these other 2 options aren't much better. It gives 60% uptime of Fury with max boon duration. Combined with Warhorn 5, you don't even need to do quick draws. Warhorn 5 off cooldown plus the new Spotter is 100% Fury duration for your team. So even more of a reason that you're probably never going to need Storm Spirit. Necromancer. Now, not a ton changed on the Necro. The main thing I wanted to try out with this was the Warhorn healing skills. So in the second column of blood, most support Scourges, which, I'm a support fan, would take Vampiric Presence. It's a little bit more damage and healing for your whole team. However, there's a new thing here, Banshee's Wail, which is the Warhorn trait, now also increases healing done by 10%. Now going down here to Locust Swarm, it now heals your teammates and you for each hit that it does. Now, we tried this out. I went into a testing room with, a bunch of golems, and I hit them, and it's meager. I essentially want to say don't rely on it. Like, it's better than it was. It's a flat buff. It didn't used to do it. Now it does. There's nothing to really complain about there. However, it's 129 per tick. It can hit up to 5 targets. We're talking 500 to 600 health per second. And it goes out to your teammates. So it's nice, it's patch healing, but that's if you've got 5 enemies and 5 allies stacked all in one spot. So it's good, and of course the bonus to healing affects other skills as well. You've got your Staff 2 can put regen, this buffs that by a tiny bit. The Transfusion, which pulses healing to teammates when you use that does some healing. However, I probably wouldn't take Banshee's Wail over Vampiric Presence purely because I wanted 10% more healing. I can't imagine doing it for that reason. However, it does also, reduce the cooldown of the Warhorn skills, which if you're, relying on Wail of Doom for your interrupt for a fight where you need more interrupts or something, that's certainly solid. But that was just my findings with the Warhorn Necromancer healing ability that just came out. Briefly touching on Virtuoso, they lost the bleed, I believe, on the F2 Blade-Song Sorrow. We were a little concerned that was going to really wreck them. However, most of the Virtuosos I have seen are killing it. I have not played Virtuoso since patch, but in most of the groups I have been in, it's been Virtuosos, Engineers, and then, other stuff going down. So they were not seemingly hurt too badly by that. Oh, the warrior. Oh boy. All right. So this guy is currently just standing at a treasure chest. And no, he didn't get demoted to that. I already had him there because I don't play him that much. However, let's talk about warrior quickness. So if you've been reading any news or like forums or discussions about this, a lot of people are like, warrior is dead. And I wanted to see for myself if that was really the case. So let's talk about how they decided to give warriors quickness. So what we've got here, first off, there is a trait for banners. It says boons applied by banners last longer. That is double standards, which you can see right there. And you know what? I'm actually going to swap to no set of gear, so I have no concentration right now. Now, the banners, when you drop them, give 4.5 seconds of quickness with the trait, 3 without it. 3 seconds of quickness. That's not pulsing. That's 3 seconds of quickness on a 60-second cooldown. Now, in case you are wondering if when you pick it up and put it back down, it triggers again, no, it does not. Kind of glad, that would be awful gameplay. Now, if you take double standards, you get 4.5 seconds of quickness every 60 seconds. So if you have three banners and you just drop them all, 13 seconds of quickness. So what are the other ways that they can give quickness? Now, one way is Warhorn 4. Warhorn 4, Warhorn being a weapon they don't usually take in PvE, gives 2 seconds of quickness with a 20-second cooldown. So that's 10% uptime on its own. The last method is Tactics, Marching Orders, with the Grandmaster trait Martial Cadence. Soldier's Focus grants quickness to affected allies. All right, now for those that don't play Warrior, what is Marching Orders? Soldier's Focus, that's this right here. You periodically get this buff. When you hit an enemy with a burst skill, that is when your bar here is full of adrenaline and you hit the berserk button or whatever it is for your weapon type. When you use the burst skill, you will give quickness to your allies and expend the Soldier's Focus buff. Now, you get Soldier's Focus every 10 seconds. That means for maximum uptime, has to be 10 seconds since the last time you used this. You get the buff. You make sure your rage is high enough, your adrenaline is full enough. Then you use the burst skill. If you did a burst with enough adrenaline after 10 seconds or more has passed since the last time you did it, you'll give your allies 3 seconds of quickness with a 10-second cooldown. Now, the amount of effort to do this perfectly is silly. However, if you had max boon duration, you're looking at 6 seconds of quickness every 10 seconds, which is a 60% uptime. Now with max boon duration, this down here is 4 seconds of quickness with a 20-second cooldown, which is 20% uptime. So combine those and you've got 80. And then, periodically staggering the banners, one banner, wait a bit, another banner, another, wait a bit, another banner, and you would be right at 100% quickness uptime. And you would be using a trait line you don't want, an insane rotation, a weapon you don't want, and having to juggle banners that provide boons the party probably doesn't need. So I have to say that in terms of quickness generation, yeah, this sucks. This sucks. As a not warrior main, I've looked into it. This bites. Yeah, it's pretty rough. At this moment in time, I would say, if you're a warrior, just abandon banners, abandon trying to be the quickness guy, and just get as much damage as you can out of your character and see how high it can go. Now, I myself usually turn to people like Snowcrows and other various, number crunching websites to see what's doing good right now. I don't know how high Warrior is on those. If the Warriors are to be believed, they're doing negative damage. I don't know if it's that bad or if it's worse. I'm not sure. But yeah, right now, that is the banner and quickness situation with Warriors. I would not bother. Now, the last one I have spent time testing is the Engineer, the thing I currently considered my main ever since Scrapper got quickness. So I don't have anything to add on like Thief or on Elementalist, just because I don't play those. I'm not fluent enough with them at this point in time to say much about it. Engineer, though, got a few things to say on this. So, Support Engineer. very little changed. Very little changed. So a couple things. One, they added a quality of life thing. For example, if you're doing different mech skills, if you accidentally hit like F3 and F2 at the same time, it used to be he would be channeling the F3, and then when you hit F2, it would interrupt the F3 and do the F2. Now it will simply do the instant cast F2 without interrupting the F3. That is a quality of life change. It's very nice. It will help new engineers not muck things up. Pun intended. So that's cool. Additionally, if you do your weapon 3 skill, no matter what weapon, your mech will fire Rocket Punch, which is its way of, it does like 100 Defiance bar damage. It's a helpful interrupt. So it used to be only Mace 3 did this. Now it's other weapons as well. Now I have tested this with kits. It does not work with kits. The 3 button on kits will not trigger Rocket Punch. I tested a whole bunch of them. It doesn't work. And honestly, I think that's fair because otherwise you could just like, other than the small cooldown on it, which is 5 seconds, you could just be rotating, through weapon kits and just every 5 seconds having your pet doing a small interrupt. Not that I even think that would be overpowered. It's 100 breakbar damage, but that is what it is. So that was taken care of. So that only works with, the main weapons. Next up for the healing mechanist, medical dispersion field. So medical dispersion field is when you get hit with a heal, it will heal people around you. It was 50%. You get healed for 1k, everyone around you gets healed for 5. It was usually one of your top 2 sources of healing for the amount of healing that is hitting your party. Now, they changed it from 50 to 33, and also more skills affected. They said including backpack regenerator, which, if you're cutting it by a third, then that's like 50 health per second healing allies. It's not worth giving up comeback here, in my opinion. Including regeneration, which it already was before. However, before it was only when it was not overhealing. I'm not sure if it includes overhealing now. And also including rectifier signet. So rectifier signet, I immediately was like, could you heal a party with rectifier signet instead of medkit? Now, rectifier signet heals you for 321 every second. This is with, high healing power gear. Medical dispersion field cuts that number by a third and then gives it to allies every 3 seconds. So we can just simply say this is 321 to allies every 3 seconds. Not that impressive. Additionally, if you activate it to do the big heal, okay, that's 7.6k on you and 2 to 3k on nearby allies. Okay, that's nice, but then the passive turns off unless you're running J-Drive, which keeps your Signet passives on even when they're on cooldown. But if you're the support mech, you're never going to do that. You need to be giving your group alacrity and barriers. You're going to take this one. So the end result is if you were in a group that's just blazing through a dungeon and you never want to put your mace away, you could run Rectifier Signet plus Medical Dispersion Field for some minor constant healing to your party with 0 effort, but it's not going to be as good as any amount of effort with Medkit. Any amount of effort with Medkit is going to just skyrocket ahead of the Rectifier Signet in terms of healing to others, and that's what I found. So, yeah, that's the new Medical Dispersion Field. It's tough to say if it's a buff or nerf, because, now it stockpiles the healing for 3 seconds before giving it out, so sometimes you might do a big self-heal intending to save allies in an emergency, and then they don't get it for 3 seconds, so it's kind of weird. It went from 50 down to 30, but now 2 more things affect it that you probably shouldn't use, but regen now affects it a little bit more. It kind of feels like a small nerf, but it was a small nerf to one of our top sources of healing. So I don't think this breaks the class. I mean, it's still a great class, but that's just my findings of it. Okay, now the elephant in the room, so to speak. Let's talk about the DPS Mechanist. So the DPS Mechanist, they reworked Rifle. And Rifle, now the auto does bang, bang, boom, bang, bang, boom. It's basically bullet, bullet, grenade, bullet, bullet, grenade repeating. That's the auto. It shoots very, very quickly. You would... It's weird. So, like, for example, with mace, you mouse over mace and you see it does like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it takes a minute. The rifle, one tap does the whole chain. I don't know if that's a bug or not, but one tap does the whole chain. Now, the 2 key pulses 5 might to your allies. If you're just hitting the 2 on cooldown, even with no boon duration at all, you will constantly keep 5 stacks of might up on your group. Additionally, there's a trait here in Pinpoint Distribution that just pulses might to your party. If you have that trait, plus you're hitting 2 off cooldown, a full Berserker Rifle Engineer will give 10 might to their party at all times. The 3 and the 2 swap places from what they used to be. The 4 isn't much different. The 5 is still a movement skill. And that's pretty much the rifle. Now, why is rifle so freaking good right now? So, aim-assisted rocket is a huge part of it. This skill used to have a minimum range of, it was something higher than 500, and I know that because it used to not work with flamethrower. Flamethrower, the max range of flamethrower is 425, and it would not trigger aim-assisted rockets. Now, oh my god, it will. So the rockets have a minimum range of 150. Even a scrapper swinging a hammer at max melee range can fire rockets now. So I've seen a lot of people taking this trait. Also, the rockets have an interesting little glitch, a graphical glitch, where, you know, it causes a large explosion, a graphical explosion on the screen, and I'm not going to show it. But if you're fighting a huge target, it's a huge blinding explosion. I sent a report in, and I believe that they're working on fixing it, where the report was just a video that said seizure warning, and it was us fighting the Mitrin strike mission boss, and it was just blinding flashes covering the entire screen constantly because of we had like 4 engineers and a 10-man party, and there was just rocket explosions going off constantly. And I was just doing this the whole time. Like I'm not even prone to seizures, and it hurt my eyes. So that's the thing. Now, the rocket, you know, it works on you, but they also added it to the mech. So, you know, it doesn't work. I've tested on a dummy. It doesn't work with blade arm or punchy arm. It only works with gun arm. And it even says here, if you have the explosives trait aim-assisted rocket, your mech also gains the effect of that trait. So you and your mech can fire rockets while you are fighting a target. And I found out very quickly, if I'm, me and my mech are both just shooting at a target, the rockets, you know, because the rockets coming from him and from me, will be like our second highest source of damage. It is a very strong trait. Like, if they nerfed it by 10 to 20%, we'd still take it. It would still be quite good. Right now, it almost certainly pulls ahead of Explosive Temper for more ferocity. It's just that good. At one point, I was on a world boss, and at the time, I was running my build like this. I had Punchy Boy out. And I was doing the same rotation as another mech, and he was number 2 on damage, I was number 3, but I was like 30% below him. And I was like, why is he so much further ahead? And I clicked on him with the damage meter here, and I looked at his breakdown, and I was like, we're doing the same thing. He's got gun arms. Why is it that different? And it was because gun arm, suddenly the mech was firing rockets, and it was just that big a difference. So yeah, the rifle is quite strong, mostly because of the synergy with traits. Like, all of it, like this and this and this and this and this and this are all affecting rifle 1. And then, you know, that also affects the gun arms on the mech, and then it's dipping into it. Now, do I think it's OP? Maybe a little. Right now, on most of the events and stuff I did, I was like trying to catch up to Virtuosos. It was Virtuosos, and then me, and again, I'm just speaking from my personal experience, and I was trying to keep up with them, and then everybody else. And I was basically hitting F1, F2, and F3 and 2. And then just bing, 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 you know, a whole lot of the 1 key. I wasn't really doing anything else. I was running full signets, and that was pretty much it. I would use the 3 and the 4 for break bars, because, you know, the 3 triggers his rocket punch, the 4 was overcharged shot, which is a knockdown, and the 5 for movement skills. The 5 hits quite hard, I saw sometimes crits for 11k from the 5 or the 2, but because it stops your absolute, you know, flurry of shots plus rockets, I found that it was just more damage just of 1 and 2, and that's it. And then again, the 2 and the that other trait I showed you was might uptime for me and people around me. It's also with a few pieces of Diviner's gear, as well as if you were running, I believe, like this, you're supplying even more might to your party and giving alacrity to them. Your damage will be lower, or you can just, you know, full Berserker bottom line, and it's like 27,000 DPS. It's crazy. So I gotta say, if they left this alone, because it's neck and neck with other top builds, I wouldn't be surprised. And if they nerfed it, I would also not be surprised, because it's really easy to play. Like, either way, I'd be like, okay, you know, yeah, like right now, it's way ahead of Warriors. But right now, it's also right behind the Mesmers I've seen. And again, speaking from personal experience, played in like 10 hours since the patch. The next thing, possibly the last thing, unless I think of anything else that I want to talk about, is this thing. Jade Dynamo. This thing, I'm just going to straight up say it, I think this needs to be nerfed. Give me a second, we're going to time skip to the PvP lobby. Okay, I want to show you something here. So Jade Dynamo, it used to be, in most game modes, you would take one of these 2 traits. Now, I am fully supportive of finding a skill or trait that no one takes and doing something about it. Rework it, replace it, buff it, nerf the others, you know? I like that. I like, for example, I would love, you know, utility goggles. No one who knows what they're doing in any game mode in this entire game uses this skill. Rework it, replace it, something. However, it doesn't need to be done right now. Engineers are in a great spot. So they did the what I just described with Jade Dynamo. They're like, not many people are using this, let's give it a buff. Okay, that's fine, I like that. Unlocks the Met Command skill Jade Mortar. That is basically you target something, you hit F3, and it fires a shot, and then it starts shooting. Now, they did a couple of things with that. One, they buffed Jade Mortar. 2, they made the animation move much further. In the past, it would almost never hit its target because it was like 4 seconds of it traveling through the air. The last thing they did, or the next thing they did, is it reduces the cooldown of these skills, your F1 through F3 skills for the mech, by 20%, and it gives 4 seconds of quickness. Now, usually, so there's multiple problems here. Usually, if you've got a skill that gives you like 5 seconds of quickness, in PvP it might give you 1 or 2. It doesn't. It's giving you 4 seconds of quickness everywhere. So like if I target this guy, and like pet, do F1, pet F2, pet F3, I get 12 seconds of quickness in PvP. That makes me use so much more of a machine gun than I already was. Yo, guys, I love Engineer. We didn't need this. We did not need this. It's insane. I've been talking with Lord Hyzen, who is, of course, known for, like, soloing monster content in open world, and, you know, he recently did a video where he had a mech that, basically, he was using Flamethrower plus Juggernaut, which, you know, is a classic thing for permanent stability, gives you a bunch of might. Punchy Arms is more might. He had a couple stuff here from some alacrity. He took that same build, did some shenanigans with some runes, took Mortar, and he had a build that was permanent alac and permanent self-quickness. Now, it's lower damage, so you wouldn't take it in any high-level fractal or raid, but in open world, it's disgusting. Chrono can't even do that. Additionally, he has a version of the build that is perma self-quickness and then just auto-attack. Just 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and go absolutely ham. And, you know, you don't really need alacrity if you're only using the 1 key, and he was just a machine gun. Again, open world. So you can basically be DPS gun with group alac, DPS gun with higher damage, DPS group gun with perma self quickness, or DPS gun with perma alac and perma self quickness but lower damage. Guys, I love my engineer. I think that they did right by trying to buff this trait so it was used by someone. They went way too far. I think the quickness should be like 1 or 2 seconds, or just not even be there. Just the 20% reduced recharge rate is fantastic, and the fact that the mortar now reaches the target without it even missing because the target's moved is fantastic. But the quickness was just way over the top. If they told me like, yeah, hey, we went too far, we're removing this, or we cut it in half or something, if they said that tomorrow, I'd be like, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, I see that. So yeah, I guess some final thoughts. As someone who, played Engie a lot and played support a lot of various classes, one of the roles I actually always hated doing was DPS engineer, because honestly, I don't even have carpal tunnel or anything. It freaking hurt my wrist after like 30 minutes. You'd be juggling flamethrower kit, grenade kit, bomb kit, your main weapon, and mortar kit. Most of the builds, you'd be juggling like 4 or 5 kits. Friggin' killed my hand. So I very much am enjoying the DPSing on this class more than I ever did before, because I'm not having to do that, but at the same time, I'm getting a lot for very little effort, and I know that. Now, is it akin to like the high-level Mesmer builds? Yeah, but it's also pulling way ahead of the other classes. So again, if they were to buff the hell out of the other classes, or nerf engineer in the very near future, I would not be surprised either way. I hope one of those things happens. I truly do. For the sake of the game's balance, I truly do. I had a quick pause there to look through all the classes and see if there was anything else that I had to add. I think that's it. I think that's everything that was the results of my own personal testing. But thanks for listening. If you're watching this to the end, hitting the like button does help us out, and I appreciate that. Subscribe if you want to see more content. Those are my thoughts on the most recent patch as it affected me and my gameplay, and I'm interested to hear your opinions down below. Keep it civil. We know Warrior's in a tough spot. You don't need to keep saying it, but yeah, I'm like people, for example, that play Thief or that play Elementalist, things that I don't personally play. Very interested to hear what you guys are going through with this, and I will read it. So take care, until next time.